Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody who's joining us for this live session. Anybody who's watching it as a recording, thank you so much for taking time to tune in. I'm delighted to be able to host this session. My name is Debbie Archer and I have with me Irina Manola. Hi, Irina.
Hi, Debbie. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Let's start with a little bit of an introduction to, first of all, Women in Tech. Women in Tech is a global organisation committed to advancing women and girls in science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Headquartered in Paris, it's a global movement with chapters in 54 countries across 6 continents and a thriving membership of over 250,000 individuals. The organisation aims to impact 5 million women and girls in STEM fields by 2030, addressing 7 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, I'm told to say. With a focus on education, mentorship, advocacy and inclusion, the mission of Women in Tech is to close the gender gap in technology and empower women to thrive at every stage of their journey, from students to leaders. Let me introduce the International Software Testing Qualifications Board. The board developed the very well-known Certified Tester Scheme, which now globally has delivered 1.4 million exams with more than 1 million people certified. I think that's a testament to ISTQB as a global standard in software testing. The Women in Testing Initiative was established in February 2022 and seeks to support and celebrate women in the testing profession, and our goals and aims are very closely aligned to those of Women in Tech with regard to women in the profession. This is the second broadcast in collaboration between the Women in Tech and the ISTQB, and aligning the initiatives of both parties. Following feedback from our first broadcast on software testing in quality assurance, today we're going to focus on security testing. Let me introduce the lovely Irina. Irina Manola is a business consultant, coach and trainer with over 16 years of experience in development, testing, agile and project management across multiple industries. Blended her technical background with expertise in coaching and team development. She empowers teams to grow, collaborate and deliver impactful solutions in complex environments. In the webinar, we're going to explore some of the fundamentals of security testing, some of the trends, some of the career opportunities in the fields, and highlight the growing impact of women in cybersecurity, sharing insights and inspiration to encourage more female participation and leadership in cybersecurity. Irina, I'm going to go and leave you to continue. Can I just say very quickly to those who are watching, if you do have questions, I know that Irina is really keen to hear from you and very keen that the audience participate. So please do pop your questions into the chat. And at the end of the session, we'll try to go through as many of those as we possibly can. Irina, over to you. Sit back, everybody, and enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, so our subject for today is breaking barriers in security testing. This is a subject very dear to me, and it's true that lately security is no longer just for specialists. It actually affects everyone that's having any digital device. And testing for functionality without thinking about security is like building a house, but not thinking that you should also lock the house. So we need to shift that mindset, and that's why we're here today. We will be talking about a short introduction to security testing and why it matters, especially today. We will have an overview of different types of security testing. We will look at key tools and techniques used. We will go then a bit into the area of what career opportunities do we have in cybersecurity and security testing, looking at the portfolio of certifications from ISTQB. We will definitely look at several success stories of women in security testing, and we will also have a section of tips on how to break into security testing as a woman and what's best to do in order to create inclusive spaces in security teams. So, talking about security testing and why it matters today, I mentioned here 3 points of view. One would be is that security is foundational to software quality, and also the threat landscape is evolving, as well as the fact that everyone in tech has a role to play. So, when we think about quality, we often think about bugs, crashes, or usability issues, but a secure system is part of a trustworthy user experience. And if users don't feel safe or aren't safe, it doesn't matter how good the UI is. Now, security is foundational to software quality since security is not an afterthought or should not be an afterthought, should be part of quality from day one. And a system cannot be called high quality if it isn't secure, even if it works flawlessly. Users nowadays expect both functionality and safety. And if we think about quality as a recipe, it has four major ingredients: functionality, performance, usability, and security. None of these ingredients could be missing, otherwise, we wouldn't be able to call it quality after all. The threat landscape today includes ransomware, phishing, zero-day exploits. So attacks are more frequent, more automated, and more sophisticated. AI is now being used by attackers, and the race is accelerating. Even small applications are targets. So security is no longer just for enterprise softwares. Even misconfigured systems, outdated dependencies, and overlooked APIs are huge risks. And these aren't rare anymore. And testers need to be part of the system of defense, if we can call it that way, and not only developers or the security team. This means that in this kind of context with a team where everyone is involved for the defense of the application, everyone in tech has a role to play. Testers can identify risk areas and raise security concerns. Developers can write more secure code with basic awareness. Product owners can prioritize security stories, and business analysts can model threat scenarios as part of the requirement gathering. Women, especially, bring a different perspective that often help uncover our overlooked vulnerabilities. And I'm saying this that women, especially, bring different perspective is because at a psychological level, men are the protectors while women are the ones requesting protection. So it's a different perspective that both bring, but women especially bring this help to uncover overlooked vulnerabilities. So, security is a shared responsibility. It's not about waiting for an expert to show up and mention something. Whether you write code or test features or define requirements or manage projects, you can influence how secure the product is. Going a bit into depth with regards to types of security testing, I would like to go over vulnerability scanning, penetration testing, ethical hacking, threat modeling, and secure code review, just for everybody to have an overall view over these topics. These are the most common forms of security testing. Each serves a different purpose, from scanning for known weaknesses to simulating real-world attacks. And even testers with no security background can start by learning how these fit into the software development lifecycle, into the SDLC. Taking one by one, for example, vulnerability scanning is an automated process of scanning systems for known security weaknesses. As an example, if you use a tool like OWASP to scan a web app and detect libraries or exposed admin panels, that would be one idea of vulnerability scanning. For penetration testing, We can think of penetration testing as a way to simulate real-world scenarios and exploit vulnerabilities. So, for example, if a security expert tries to break into a system like a hacker would by guessing weak passwords or bypassing login prompts, that would be an idea of penetration testing. Basically, it attacks or it watches over the way the login is done. Ethical hacking is a more vast area, a broader term actually for legally hacking or wide hacking systems to improve their security. For example, an ethical hacker performs a full assessment of the application, so not only over the logins, for an e-commerce platform, including social engineering, API abuse, server misconfigurations. This would be an example of ethical hacking. Now, for threat modeling, it's a way of proactively identifying potential threats and attacks uh, before coding begins. So, an example would be brainstorming with a team and thinking about, let's say, the team is developing a payment system. So the team maps out who might attack, which is the persona, how can we picture a person, and what would be their purpose, what would be their usability over our system, how they might do it, and what's the weakest point of the system. And by this, we can gather some more information and prioritize security matters. For the secure code review, it's a manually or an automatically inspection of code for security flows. For example, we can look at login functions, make sure passwords are hashed properly, the input is validated to prevent injection attacks. And this would be a way to do some secure code review. Going a bit further over tools and techniques, I've gathered the already mentioned OWASP tool, but also Burp Suite. We can look at Sneak and some Stride for threat modeling and CI/CD pipelines. I tried to map from the previous types of testing several tools and techniques. If we think of OWASP, just to mention something, I'm presenting them, but for anybody starting with security testing, it's not needed to know all of them or to master all of them. The beginning, as we will see later on when we discuss the career opportunities, the basic is to have a testing mindset and a well-informed security testing mindset. But these are tools and techniques that it's good to hear about and to see how you can add them in your experience later on. So about the OWASP, it's a free and beginner-friendly tool, very, very useful for apps with common security issues. If you run it over a login page, for example, it will flag if there are missing security headers in that function. Burp Suite is a much more powerful tool, and it's manipulating the web traffic in order to find hidden flaws. For Sneak or dependency check, it's a tool that checks your project third-party libraries. Usually during development, we don't reinvent all the wheels, so we are using third-party libraries for which we don't have a full control over how security is handled at their level. So what can we do is that we can scan with a tool and see which are the major risks for those libraries. And we can mitigate then those risks once we know them, of course. With regards to Stride, it's a structured way to identify threats under 6 categories. We have spoofing, we have tampering, repudiation, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privileges. These are 6 six major threats categories that are very easy identifiable with Stride. So, for example, during design, Stride is used to analyze the API over these six categories. Now, secure testing in CI/CD pipelines uses checks into automated testing and the deployment workflows. It's a really nice way to do because it can be easily integrated in a GitHub action, for example, in a GitHub action pipeline. What can I say is, again, you don't need to master all of them, but gradually build muscle, if we can say that way, to use these tools. Going from the technical side a bit into how we can find our way and what career opportunities does cybersecurity offer. I've mentioned here several roles that are currently found in this cybersecurity and security testing area. Many of us start as testers and then pivot to security. We don't really need to know hacking if we do that. But what's most important as traits that we need to develop is curiosity, it's attention to details, and critical thinking. These are most important three traits that I would like to mention in order to have the mindset to pivot to security. But the tester's mindset is a real superpower in this situation. Now, in order to see if we are able to select a certain role in a company, it's really important to choose your company very consciously, very aware of what are the business activities of the company, what roles or projects do they develop, what's the profile of the company, and if they are in any way interested in security, so that you can find your place there, let's say. Well, it's good that on the market we have ISTQB to support us with the security tester certification. This is a certification that builds a strong foundation for non-hackers. It validates skills, it boosts confidence, and it's aligned with a career progression. It's a great way to step into this world. It offers structure and credibility. Structure for yourself while learning, credibility amongst the other IT people and amongst employers. And what you learn about risk, you learn about threats, test strategies, and this really boosts confidence in this area. How are women leading the way for security testing? Well, women are doing an amazing work, from technical leadership to policy and education in security matters. Still, they are underrepresented. Sorry. Some real stories from the field. I've chosen only two. One of them is Tanya Janka from Canada. And I've chosen her for a very, very nice book that she wrote. It's called Alice and Bob Learn Application Security. It's a very good, basic book for setting the mindset. Most probably, you know, Alice and Bob are the two personas generally used when learning networking, and we have Alice on one end of the conversation and Bob at the other end, and they are communicating, and security is at risk when communication is in place, of course. And another woman that I would like you to recommend to look for is Jaya Balu from the Netherlands. She has a great TED talk about the world needs hackers. The whole talk starts with her appearing on the scene and letting everybody in the audience know that the ones that have their phones and Bluetooths active, and that would be the whole audience, had their phones spoofed and read the whole morning. And then she presents step by step how they have read everybody's phone the whole morning, and presents one case from the audience who really had a major flaw, and he received a message on his mobile phone screen that he's being hacked. That simple, let's say. Please find the video, watch it. It's really, really nice and empowering, both of them. I could bring here a real story, which is my story and how I've started in the security testing world. 7 years ago in Romania, we've embraced the GDPR since it was enforced by the European Union. And as a QA manager back then, I was very interested in the project for the teams that I had to take care of the data in the project, customer data. So I certified for GDPR, I've learned some more, and to